The woman in the motel window before you. Listen to this story. Imagine checking into a cheap motel late at night. The parking lot is empty. The office light is flickering. The room smells like old carpet and cigarette smoke. And when you pull back the curtain, you see someone standing outside your window. Not moving. Not knocking. Just watching. If you enjoy scary stories like this, please take a second to like this video. Subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment below. Your support helps this channel bring you more chilling stories every night. And if you are brave enough to listen until the end, leave a comment saying, "I saw her at the window." Now, turn off the lights, put on your headphones, and listen carefully. Because this story begins at a roadside motel in Nevada. A motel that should have been empty. But somehow, room 6 was never alone. Caleb Morris was driving from California to Utah when the storm hit. It came out of nowhere. One moment, the desert highway was dry and endless beneath his headlights. The next, rain crashed against the windshield so hard that the road almost disappeared. Lightning flashed over the mountains in the distance, turning the desert white for half a second at a time. Caleb was exhausted. He had been driving for almost 9 hours. His phone battery was low, his eyes burned, and the gas tank was nearly empty. He had planned to reach a bigger town before stopping. But the storm made that impossible. Then he saw the sign, Silver Rest Motel. The sign stood crooked beside the highway, buzzing with a weak red glow. Some of the letters were broken, so from a distance it looked like it said, Sil Rest Motel. The motel sat behind it in the rain. A single row of rooms. A small office. An empty parking lot. A soda machine glowing beside the ice room. It looked old, cheap, and forgotten. But Caleb did not care. He just needed a bed. He pulled into the parking lot and parked near the office. Rain hammered the roof of his car. For a moment, he sat there, staring at the motel through the windshield. Only one room had its light on. Room 6. Caleb thought nothing of it. He grabbed his bag, ran through the rain, and pushed open the office door. A bell above the door rang once. The office smelled of dust, coffee, and wet carpet. Behind the counter sat an old man with thin white hair and cloudy eyes. He was reading a newspaper that looked decades old. The man did not look up. "Need a room?" he asked. Caleb wiped rain from his face. "Just for one night." The old man slowly folded the newspaper. "Cash or card?" "Card." The man shook his head. "Machines down." Caleb sighed and pulled 2 20s from his wallet. The old man took the money and reached for a key from the wall. Caleb noticed there were 12 hooks. Only one key was missing. Room 6. The old man handed him a key, attached to a cracked plastic tag. Room 6. Caleb frowned. "Is this the only room available?" The old man looked at him for the first time. His eyes were pale and watery. "It is the only room that opens." Caleb waited for him to explain. He did not. Instead, the old man pushed a registration book across the counter. Name. Caleb wrote his name. As he closed the book, he noticed the page above his. There was a name written there too. Eleanor Voss. Room 6. Date, October 17, 1979. Caleb stared at it. "That is weird," he said. "Old guest book." The old man reached over and shut the book. "Storm's getting worse," he said. "Best get inside." Caleb hesitated, then took the key. Before he left, the old man spoke again. "Don't open the curtain after midnight." Caleb turned back. "What?" The old man's face was empty. "Bad habit. People look outside when they hear things." Caleb forced a laugh. "What kind of things?" The old man picked up his newspaper again. "Things that want to be seen." Room 6 was at the far end of the motel. Caleb ran through the rain, unlocked the door, and stepped inside. The room was small and ugly. A bed with a faded brown blanket. A nightstand. A dusty lamp. A television with a thick glass screen. A bathroom with cracked tiles. The walls were yellowed with age, and the carpet was damp near the door. The air conditioner rattled in the wall, even though it was turned off. But the worst part was the window. It faced the parking lot. Long beige curtains hung over it, stained. Near the bottom, Caleb remembered what the old man had said. Don't open the curtain after midnight. He laughed quietly and dropped his bag on the bed. Creepy old guy, he muttered. He checked his phone. No signal, of course. He plugged it into the wall beside the bed and turned on the television. Static. He changed the channel. More static. Another channel. A black and white image appeared for 1 second. A woman standing outside in the rain. Then static again. Caleb sat up. He stared at the screen. The image was gone. He changed the channel again. Nothing. Only static. He turned the TV off. The room became quiet except for the rain. He showered, changed clothes, and lay on the bed. The mattress sagged beneath him. The lamp flickered once, then steadied. Caleb checked the time. 11:48 p.m. He closed his eyes. For a while, he slept. At 12:13 a.m., he woke to tapping. Tap, tap, tap. Caleb opened his eyes. The room was dark. Only the bathroom light, which he had left on, glowed under the door. Tap, tap, tap. The sound came from the window. Caleb lay still. Rain. It was just rain. Tap, tap, tap. No. It was too steady. Too deliberate. 3 taps. A pause. Then 3 more. Tap, tap, tap. Caleb slowly turned his head toward the window. The curtains were closed. Behind them, lightning flashed. For 1 second, he saw the outline of a person standing outside the glass. Tall. Still. Close. Caleb sat up fast. The room went dark again. His heart began pounding. He grabbed his phone. Still no signal. The time read 12:14 a.m. The tapping came. Again. Tap. 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 Then a woman's voice whispered from outside the window. Caleb. He stopped breathing. The voice was soft. Almost sad. Caleb, please open the curtain. Caleb got out of bed and backed toward the door. How do you know my name? He whispered. The woman did not answer. Instead, she tapped again. Tap. Then she said, it is cold out here. Caleb remembered the old man's warning. Don't open the curtain after midnight. He moved toward the door, but the chain lock swung into place by itself. Click. Caleb froze. The door was now locked from the inside. He reached for the chain. The woman at the window whispered, don't leave me with him. Caleb turned back. Lightning flashed again. The silhouette was still there. Only now, another shape stood behind her. Larger. Darker. Its head bent unnaturally to one side. Caleb's mouth went dry. The woman whispered, he found me again. Then the tapping changed. It was no longer coming from the window. It was coming from the bathroom mirror. Tap, tap, tap. Caleb turned slowly toward the bathroom. The door was half open. The yellow light flickered inside. From the mirror came another tap. Tap. Caleb picked up the lamp from the nightstand and stepped toward the bathroom. His reflection appeared in the mirror. Pale, wet-haired, terrified. Then another reflection appeared behind him. A woman. She stood in the room behind Caleb, though. When he spun around, no one was there. He looked back into the mirror. She was still there. She was young, maybe in her late 20s, with dark hair plastered to her face as if she had been standing in rain for hours. Her dress was old-fashioned, pale blue, and soaked through. Her lips were trembling. Caleb whispered. Who are you? The woman in the mirror raised one shaking hand and pointed toward the bed. Caleb turned. On the bed was the Motel guest book. He had not brought it from the office. It lay open on the blanket. The page showed the name again. Eleanor Voss. Room 6. October 17, 1979. Below it, in fresh wet handwriting, new words appeared. I never checked out. Caleb stumbled backward. The bathroom light went out. The room fell into darkness. Then, from the television, static exploded. Caleb turned. The TV had turned on by itself. Through the static, a news broadcast flickered, black and white, old, distorted. A reporter stood outside the Silver Rest Motel while rain poured behind him. The words at the bottom of the screen were barely readable. Woman vanishes from room 6. The reporter's voice crackled through the speakers. 28-year-old Eleanor Voss was last seen checking into the Silver Rest Motel late Thursday night. Her vehicle was found in the parking lot the following morning. But Voss was missing. Police found no sign of forced entry. The broadcast cut to static. Then another image appeared. Room 6. The same room, but cleaner, newer. A woman sat on the bed, crying. Eleanor. The bathroom door behind her opened. A man stepped out. He was tall and thin, wearing a motel staff uniform. His face was blurred by static. Eleanor stood up and backed away. The man raised one finger to his lips. The screen cut to black. Caleb whispered, "No." The TV turned back to static. Then the woman's voice came from the speaker. "He still has the key. The room key on." The nightstand began to move, slowly, dragging itself toward the edge. Caleb grabbed it. The plastic tag was wet. Cold water dripped from it onto his hand. From outside the door, footsteps approached. Slow, heavy, wet. They stopped in front of room 6. Caleb stood frozen. A key slid into the lock from the outside. Click. The handle turned. Caleb ran to the door and pressed his body against it. The handle stopped moving. A man's voice whispered from the other side. "Guest services." Caleb did not answer. The voice came again. "Sir, we need to check the room." Caleb held the door shut with both hands. "I am calling the police," he said, though his phone had no signal. The man outside laughed softly. "You already did." Caleb felt the blood drain from his face. The voice continued. "Every guest does." The chain lock began to pull tight. Not from Caleb's side. From the other side. The screws in the doorframe creaked. One by one, they began to loosen. Caleb backed away. The chain snapped. The door flew open. Rain and cold air rushed inside. No one stood there. The parking lot was empty. The motel office was dark. But directly across from room 6, in the reflection of Caleb's car window, a tall man stood behind him. Caleb turned. The man was inside the room. He wore an old motel uniform. His skin was gray. His mouth was too wide. His eyes were covered with a white film. Like he had been dead underwater for years. In one hand, he held a ring of motel keys. In the other, a wet towel. The man smiled. "Checkout is at 11. Caleb ran. He pushed past the man, out into the rain, and across the parking lot toward the office. Behind him, the man did not chase. He only walked. Slowly. Caleb reached the office door and pulled. Locked. He pounded on the glass. "Help me." Inside, the old clerk sat behind the counter, reading his newspaper. Caleb screamed, "Open the door." The old man slowly looked up. Then he shook his head. Behind Caleb, keys jingled. The motel man was crossing the parking lot. Caleb ran to the side of the building, looking for another way in. There was an alley between the office and the ice room. At the end of it was a rusted metal door. He pulled it open and rushed inside. The door slammed behind him. For 1 second, Caleb thought he was safe. Then he realized he was back in room 6. The bed, the TV, the beige curtains, the bathroom door. Everything was the same. Except now, the room was full of water. It covered the carpet up to Caleb's ankles. Rainwater dripped from the ceiling. The TV showed static. The curtains moved. As if something behind them was breathing. Caleb backed toward the bathroom. Eleanor stood there. Not in the mirror. This time, in the room. Her skin was pale, her hair wet, her eyes wide with terror. "You have to find the other door," she whispered. "What other door?" "The one he uses." "Keys." Jingled outside. Eleanor grabbed Caleb's arm. Her hand was ice cold. "He never leaves through the front." The door handle began to turn. Eleanor pointed to the bathroom. Caleb ran inside. The mirror was gone. In its place was a narrow opening in the wall. A dark hallway stretched behind it. Caleb crawled through. The passage was barely wide enough for his shoulders. Pipes ran along the walls. The air smelled of mildew and rust. Behind him, room 6 opened. The man's voice echoed. "You should not be in there." Caleb crawled faster. The hallway sloped downward. He passed small openings in the walls. Through one, he saw room 3, empty. Through another, room 8, a bed covered in plastic. Through another, room 11. A suitcase sitting open on the floor. Then he heard crying. Not Eleanor, someone else. A man. Caleb looked through. The next opening, he saw a room filled with people. Dozens of them. Standing shoulder to shoulder in the dark. Men. Women. Travelers. Guests. All pale. All wet. All staring at the door. Each of them wore a motel key around their neck. Room numbers. 3, 8, 11, 4, 10, 6. Eleanor appeared behind Caleb in the passage. There were others, she whispered. How many? She looked away. As many as he could keep. The passage ended at a metal door. Caleb pushed it open and stumbled into a storage room behind the office. Shelves lined the walls. Old towels, cleaning supplies, boxes of guest records, and keys. Hundreds of motel keys hanging from hooks, each one labeled with a room number. Each one stained with dark water. At the center of the room was a desk. On it sat a ledger book. Caleb opened it. Names filled every page. Dates, room numbers, check-in times, but no check-out times. The last name on the newest page was his. Caleb Morris. Room 6. 1201 a.m. Under checkout, someone had written. Never. A soft voice spoke behind him. Now you understand. Caleb turned. The old clerk stood in the doorway. But he looked different now. Younger. Sad. Afraid. I tried to stop him, the clerk said. Caleb backed away. Who is he? The clerk looked toward the wall of keys. My brother. The storage room lights flickered. He owned this motel. He said no one ever noticed travelers. They came late, paid cash, slept, and left. Before morning. Perfect people to disappear. Caleb felt sick. Then why are you helping him? The clerk's eyes filled with tears. Because I gave him the master key. Keys jingled behind the wall. The clerk whispered, and now he has mine. 2. The wall behind him cracked open. A long gray hand reached through. The clerk screamed as something pulled him backward into the dark. The motel man stepped through the broken wall. He held the master key in one hand. He looked at Caleb and smiled. Room 6 is ready. Caleb grabbed a metal pipe from the shelf and swung it at the man's head. The pipe struck with a wet crack. The man stumbled. Keys scattered across the floor. Caleb saw one key different from the others. Black metal. No room number. The master key. Eleanor screamed from the passage. Break it. Caleb grabbed the black key and slammed it against the concrete floor. Once. Twice. The motel man shrieked. The walls shook. The lights burst. Caleb raised the pipe and struck the key. Again. It snapped in half. Every door in the motel opened at once. From every room came screaming. Not pain. Release. The rain stopped. The static died. The motel lights flickered out one by one. The man in the uniform collapsed, his body folding inward like wet paper. His mouth opened impossibly wide. And from inside came the voices of all the guests he had taken. Then he turned to water. Dark water spread across the floor and vanished between the cracks. Caleb fell to his knees. For a long time, he heard nothing but his own breathing. Then Eleanor stood in front of him. She looked different now. Still pale, still wet, but no longer afraid. "Thank you," she whispered. Behind her, dozens of figures stood in the open motel doors, watching silently. Then, one by one, they faded. Eleanor was the last. Before she disappeared, she looked at Caleb and said, "Do not stay in rooms with old keys." Then she was gone. Caleb woke at sunrise in his car. He was parked on the shoulder of the highway. The storm had passed. The sky was pale and empty. Across the road, where the motel had been, there was nothing. No office. No rooms. No soda machine. Only desert. Dry sand. Dead weeds. And an old motel sign lying face down in the dirt. Caleb got out of the car and walked toward it. The sign was rusted almost beyond recognition, but he could still read the faded words. Silver Rest Motel. The police found him there an hour later. They told him there had not been a motel on that road since 1981, when the building burned down after several disappearances were linked to the owner. The owner's body was never found. Neither was his key ring. Caleb did not tell them everything. He knew how it would sound. A ghost motel. A dead woman in the window. A man with keys. No one would believe him. So he left Nevada and never drove that highway again. For a while, he thought it was over. Then, 6 months later, Caleb checked into a hotel in Denver for a work conference. Modern building. Bright lobby. Electronic key card. No old keys. He laughed when the receptionist handed him the card. Room 606. That night, he woke to tapping. Tap, tap, tap. At the window. Caleb opened his eyes. He was on the 6th floor. No balcony. No ledge. The curtains were closed. Tap, tap, tap. He turned on the lamp. On the nightstand, beside the key card, was a cracked plastic tag. Wet. Old. Faded. Room 6. The phone rang. Caleb stared at it. It rang again. He picked it up slowly. At first, there was only static. Then a man's voice whispered, "Guest services." Caleb dropped the phone. From behind the curtain, a woman whispered, "Don't open it. If you ever check into a motel late at night, look at the key they give you. If it is new, maybe you are safe. If it is old, cracked, and wet, leave. Do not ask for another room. Do not look through the curtain. Do not answer the phone after midnight. Because some motels do not need to exist. On maps, some rooms keep their guests forever. And somewhere, in the dark between highways, room 6 is still waiting for someone tired enough to stop. If this story gave you chills, leave a comment saying, "I saw her at the window." Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications, because the next story may begin with a key, a curtain, and a voice outside your room whispering your name.